Okay, I'm literally shaking as I type this. I've been holding it in for weeks, and I'm finally ready to let it out. Maybe it's because I'm too angry to stay quiet any longer. Maybe it's because my phone keeps blowing up with messages from people who were at that dinner, pretending they don't know why I walked out. Like I just got up and left for no reason, while 6 months pregnant. So here's the full story. No sugarcoating. The first strange thing happened when I told him I was pregnant. We'd been trying for years, through 2 miscarriages and a chemical pregnancy. I'd cried in bathrooms, in my car, even in grocery store aisles. We'd spent hundreds on tracking apps, ovulation kits, and vitamins that made me nauseous. He'd been there for all of it, at least physically. I thought he wanted this too. He always said he did. When a test came back negative, he'd hug me and say, "We'll get there. We always do." So when I finally saw those 2 pink lines, I was shaking with happiness. I took more tests just to be sure, even booked a blood test to confirm it. When I told him, I expected him to be thrilled, but instead, he just blinked. No smile, no hug, nothing. He said, "Okay." I laughed, thinking he was just in shock. I said, "You're just processing, right?" He nodded and went back to scrolling his phone, reading some Reddit thread about mechanical keyboards. I still remember that screen because I couldn't believe he'd rather read that than react to the biggest news of our lives. I tried to brush it off. People react differently. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he just needed time. But time kept passing, and nothing changed. He didn't ask about appointments, never touched my belly, never asked how I felt. If I brought, and look, I'm not even one of those overly sentimental pregnant women. I was sick, bloated, tired, and definitely not glowing. But it felt like he was watching me from behind glass, detached, distant. One night, I finally asked, "Do you still want this?" He just said, "I don't know what you want me to say," and went to play his games. Not angry, just done. I should have pushed harder, but I was exhausted, and I started thinking maybe I was the problem. Maybe he was just stressed. My mom told me men don't always bond with the baby until it's born. My friend Elizabeth said it was probably anxiety, so I kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. Then came the dinner. His sister, Henley, invited us over for one of her family catch-up nights. She's one of those people who posts every meal online like she's running a food blog. Her husband's fine, her kids are loud, and his mom, who usually avoids drama, was there too. Looking back, that was probably intentional. I wore a dress that finally fit again. My bump was showing just enough to be cute. I curled my hair and felt good, hopeful even. I thought maybe this night would wake him up a little. I was wrong. The moment we walked in, Henley looked me up and down and said, "Wow, you're finally showing." I was starting to think this pregnancy was fake, then laughed. I smiled awkwardly and walked in. Brandon didn't say a word. At dinner, they talked about a trip they were planning. Henley joked, "Guess you won't be coming with a baby and all." And Brandon, my husband, said, "Or without, depending on how things go," and laughed. I froze. He looked away. I remember pressing my fingers into my thighs to keep calm. Then the topic shifted to baby names. I mentioned one name I liked, just one, and Henley snorted, "That sounds like a stripper name." I looked at Brandon again. Nothing. No reaction. And he said it, word for word. "We don't even know if it's mine. Ever heard of cheating and DNA tests?" His mom went pale. Henley burst out laughing. I just sat there, completely frozen. Then Henley added, "That kid's doomed with her as a mother." It felt unreal, like I was watching a movie. No one said anything. No one defended me. I put my fork down, stood up, and said, "You're right. This child doesn't deserve a father like you." Then I walked out. No one followed me. No one even said my name. I drove home and haven't seen him since. That was 3 weeks ago. He texted once, saying I overreacted, that he was just joking. His mom messaged too, saying family dinners can be stressful, and asked if I'd meet for lunch to clear the air. I blocked them both. My mom was furious. She said if she'd been there, she'd have flipped the whole table. She offered to stay with me, and I might take her up on that. But here's the thing, I'm not sad. I'm angry. After everything, the years of trying, the losses, the pain, he treated me like this. Like the baby was a burden, or worse, a punchline. So no, I'm not sad. I'm done. I'll raise this baby alone. I'll build a life without a man who jokes about DNA tests or stays silent while his sister insults me. This baby will never have to wonder why I stayed with someone who made me feel disposable. And Brandon can sit with his little jokes and his silence and wonder why the room feels so empty now. The part that still sticks with me is how quiet it got when I stood up. Like everyone knew I was the only one brave enough to say what needed to be said. Now, I'm making plans. I have an appointment next week to discuss my legal and financial options. I don't want advice. I don't want to hear, "Give him another chance." I just needed to say it out loud. I'm not going back. And if he ever wants to see me or this baby again, he better be ready to beg, because this time I'm not letting it go. If you read my last post, you already know what happened. That dinner where Brandon humiliated me while I was 6 months pregnant, where his sister laughed and he joked about the baby not being his. I left that night and I meant it. I cut contact, blocked his number, his mom, and his sister. Moved in with my cousin Christy, spare room, mattress on the floor, working air fryer, and started figuring out my next steps. Still pregnant, still tired, still alone, but oddly peaceful. Until he showed up. Not right away. About 10 days later. It started small. The box on my car hood. Inside, a pink onesie with a rainbow on it. Tags still on. Looked like a clearance grab. No note. Then a folded paper on the door. "I miss you. Please talk to me." No name, but I recognized his handwriting. That weird capital R. Next, a big box outside the apartment. A crib. No note, just expensive. I looked it up. Why spend hundreds on furniture when you could have just not humiliated me? I dragged it inside and left it unopened. Christy noticed but didn't say anything. Then came the worst part. He showed up in person. I had just finished a call with my insurance rep, trying to figure out how to register my baby without listing him as the father, which is its own nightmare. I was taking out the trash when I saw him standing by the mailboxes with a paper bag, a stuffed animal sticking out. He looked up, saw me, and flinched. "I just wanted to give you this and talk," he said. I told him to leave. He asked for 5 minutes to explain. Then he muttered about how I was being dramatic and cold and how he was trying to make things right. That's when I snapped. I grabbed the bag from his hand and threw it in the trash. I told him he doesn't get to rewrite what happened, to show up with gifts and act like it was all just a bad reaction. He said he was sorry, that he was scared, overwhelmed, that he didn't mean it, that he thought I'd get over it. I asked, "Get over what exactly? The part where you accused me of cheating? Or when you sat silent while your sister called me a bad mother?" He said it was just a bad night, that people say dumb things when they're nervous. I reminded him, no one was drunk. It was a Tuesday. There wasn't even alcohol, just lemonade and sparkling water. He blinked like he forgot, tried to touch my arm. I stepped back. Then he said the most unbelievable thing. "I already told my mom we're working it out. She's expecting to visit when the baby's born. Let's keep this private for now." I was stunned. "You told them we're back together?" He nodded, like it was nothing. I slapped him. Not hard, not out of rage, just disbelief. Then I turned, walked back upstairs, slammed the door, locked it, and sat there in silence. It gets worse. A few days later, Elizabeth called. She said she ran into Henley. Yes, that Henley. And apparently, Henley's been talking like nothing ever happened. Henley apparently started talking like nothing had happened. Elizabeth said she was going on about how Brandon and I were working things out, and that his crazy pregnant wife just needed space. I almost dropped my phone. I hadn't spoken to that woman since the dinner. The same dinner where she mocked my baby's name and laughed when her brother accused me of cheating. And now she was out there, spinning her own story. I texted Brandon, the first message since everything, and said, "Tell your sister to stop lying about me." He replied an hour later, "She's just trying to help. You're overreacting again." That was it. No apology, no accountability, just more of the same dismissive tone he's always used when I tried to stand up for myself. I blocked him again. But the damage was already done. People started messaging me, mutual friends, even one of his coworkers, asking if I was okay, saying they'd heard things were rough. Apparently, Brandon's telling everyone that I got hormonal and left, but that we're working it out. I couldn't believe it. This man publicly humiliated me, accused me of cheating, and now he's playing the victim because I walked away? I told Christy everything. She said I should talk to a lawyer, not just for child support or custody, but to legally protect myself from whatever story he's trying to build. So that's what I did. The lawyer was calm and professional, and she didn't even flinch when I told her what happened. She said, "You'd be surprised how often this happens. Let's focus on getting you and your baby secure." We went over the process: birth registration, parental rights, financial options, documentation of harassment, all of it. It was overwhelming, but it made me feel something I hadn't in a long time: in control. And then, 2 nights ago, he showed up again. It was around 9 p.m. Christy was in her room watching TV, and I heard someone knocking, soft at first, then louder. When I looked through the peephole, there he was again. He wasn't holding anything this time. No gifts, no excuses, just standing there. I didn't open the door. He knocked for a solid minute, then said, through the door, "I just want to talk, please." I didn't move. He said something that made my blood run cold. "If you keep shutting me out, I'll have to do something about it. You can't just erase me from my own child's life." It wasn't a scream. It wasn't angry. It was calm, like he'd fought it through. I stood there, frozen, while he kept talking. "I already told my mom you were emotional. Everyone knows how you get. But this is getting out of hand." That was enough. I called Christy into the hallway and told her what he said. She immediately called the building manager and the police non-emergency line. By the time they got there, he was gone. I filed a report. Nothing dramatic, just documentation in case he tried to pull something later. The officer was polite and told me I did the right thing. It's been quiet since then. Too quiet, honestly. No more knocks, no boxes, no notes. But I'm not naive enough to think it's over. I've started locking the door with the deadbolt every time I'm home. Christy insists I keep my phone on me at all times. My mom wants me to move back in with her until after the baby's born, and I think I'll do it. Here's the truth, though. As much as this whole situation hurts, I'm done being scared. Brandon doesn't get to rewrite my story. He doesn't get to spin it into she's emotional or she'll come around. I came around years ago, when I thought love meant patience, forgiveness, and loyalty through pain. Now, I finally understand it also means protecting yourself and your child from people who don't deserve either of you. I don't know what comes next. Maybe he'll back off, maybe he won't. But what I do know is that when my baby is born, they'll grow up knowing one thing for sure. Their mom chose peace over humiliation and self-respect over being someone's punchline. And that's something I'll never apologize for. It's been almost 2 months since my last post, and a lot has changed. First of all, I had the baby, a beautiful, healthy little girl. Labor was long, exhausting, and nothing like the calm water births people post about online. But the moment they placed her on my chest, everything else, the stress, the anger, the loneliness, it all just fell away. For the first time in a very long time, I felt peace. My mom was with me the entire time. Christy came too, and they both cried when the baby started breathing on her own. I didn't even realize I was crying until I looked down and saw tears on her blanket. She's perfect. Tiny fingers, the faintest dark hair, and a quiet way of staring at everything like she's already trying to figure the world out. And no, Brandon wasn't there. He didn't know I'd gone into labor. I didn't list him on the birth certificate. My lawyer made sure the paperwork was airtight. Everything was done by the book, legally sound. No gaps he could use later to cause trouble. A week after we came home, I got the first message. Different number, same tone. I heard she was born. I just want to see her. I didn't respond. Then his mother emailed me. Long message about family unity and how a child deserves both parents. She said Brandon had been remorseful and in therapy, and that I should give him a chance to prove himself. I deleted it. I don't hate her, but I refuse to let guilt trick me into reopening a door that almost destroyed me. The truth is, I've been happier these past few weeks than I have been in years. My days are simple: feedings, naps, late-night lullabies. Exhausting, yes, but real. No walking on eggshells, no guessing what mood he's in, no pretending things are fine for the sake of peace. Just me and my daughter, figuring it out together. Christy jokes that our apartment looks like a baby store exploded. My mom drops by every few days with food and insists on doing laundry. It's chaotic and messy, but it feels like home. I still get the occasional message from mutual friends saying Brandon looks terrible or misses me. Maybe that's true, but regret isn't the same as change. He had every chance to be kind when it mattered. He chose humiliation instead, and now he gets to live with that choice. Sometimes when I rock my daughter to sleep, I think about that dinner, the one where everyone laughed while I sat frozen. I think about the silence when I stood up and left. And now, I understand that silence wasn't just shock. It was fear, because deep down, they all knew I was done being small to make them comfortable. Now, when people ask if I'm scared to raise a baby alone, I tell them no. I was far lonelier sitting across from someone who refused to see me, than I'll ever be now. My daughter will grow up knowing her worth because her mother finally remembered hers. I don't need closure from him. I don't need apologies, explanations, or redemption arcs. What I needed was freedom, and I already have it. So this is it, my final update. To anyone who's been following, thank you for listening, for the messages, for reminding me that I'm not crazy for walking away from someone who didn't value me. I'm closing this chapter for good, because while Brandon may always be part of my story, he'll never define it. That belongs to me now, and to her.